A U.S. brokered ceasefire between India and Pakistan is already showing signs of strain. A 4.1 magnitude earthquake shakes parts of the South, and U.S. China trade talks stretch into day 2. Plus, a surprise NFL retirement. And here's your trivia question of the day. What was the zipper originally created for? It's Sunday, May 11th. This is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Happy Sunday and happy Mother's Day. According to Wikipedia, Mother's Day in the U.S. was first celebrated in 1908 at a small church in West Virginia after a woman named Anna Jarvis held a memorial for her late mom. It caught on quickly, and in 1914, it was officially declared a national holiday. Since then, the day has taken on many forms, and a little later in the show, we'll take a look at how it's honored in other countries around the world. But at its heart, today is about care, the kind that comforts, sacrifices, and shows up when it matters most. That can mean moms in the traditional sense or those who've stepped into nurturing roles like grandmothers, aunties, foster parents, mentors, and friends. We also know today can look different for everyone. Maybe you're missing your mom or you have a complicated relationship. However it looks, we see you, and we're glad you're here. Okay, it's time for the top headlines of the day. Let's get ready for takeoff. First up, a major development out of South Asia. Just hours after President Trump announced a U.S. brokered ceasefire between India and Pakistan, both sides are already accusing each other of breaking the deal. Trump said the agreement came after, quote, a long night of talks led by Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Pakistan's foreign ministry says it remains committed to the ceasefire, but claims India violated the truce in several areas. Meanwhile, Indian officials say Pakistan was behind explosions in the Kashmir region, where tensions have long run high. Next, an early morning wake-up call for folks across the South. A 4.1 magnitude earthquake shook eastern Tennessee on Saturday, rattling homes and nerves as far away as Atlanta. The quake struck about 30 miles south of Knoxville, along a known seismic zone. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, it was the second strongest quake in the region in the last 25 years and ranks among the top 10 over the past century. No injuries or serious damage has been reported, but it's a reminder that while earthquakes in Tennessee aren't rare, a jolt this strong doesn't happen every day. And finally, a lot of people were betting on who would be the next pope, and we mean a lot. More than 40 million was wagered on 2 online prediction platforms during the recent conclave. Most of that, 30 million, was placed on Polymarket, which is actually banned in the U.S., and another 10 million on Kalshi. 2 cardinals were seen as the front-runners heading into the vote, with one having odds as high as 40%. But the man who would become Pope Leo XIV, he started with just a 2% chance. One lucky bettor turned a $526 wager into more than $52,000 by betting on what many saw as a long shot. Up next, let's take a look at what's happening in the world of money and markets. First up, U.S. China trade talks are picking back up today after a marathon 10-hour session between Treasury Secretary Bessent and Chinese Vice Premier Hu Lingfeng. The negotiations are part of an ongoing effort to address the steep tariffs both countries have placed on each other's goods. So far, there's no word on whether any progress was made during Saturday's talks. Next up, TD Bank says it will close 38 branches on June 5th. The announcement comes after the bank pleaded guilty to conspiracy and money laundering charges last year and agreed to pay $3 billion in penalties. And finally, Google has agreed to pay nearly $1.4 billion to the state of Texas to settle a 2022 lawsuit over alleged violations of residents' data privacy rights, according to State Attorney General Ken Paxton. All right, let's take a look at how the markets closed last week. The Nasdaq rose 0.63%, the S&P 500 ticked up 0.08%, and the Dow Jones climbed 0.18%. Bitcoin made a big move, up more than 9%, And gold also finished strong, up nearly 3% at $3,335 an ounce. Today's episode is made possible by Picasso. Picasso isn't just another real estate company. They're going after a $3.1 trillion industry, vacation homes, and flipping it on its head. Instead of second homes sitting empty most of the year, Picasso turns them into co-owned assets, fully managed and shared by real owners. The result? Over 2,000 homeowners served, $110 million in gross profits, and a digital platform that handles everything from scheduling to financing. This isn't hypothetical. It's happening now in 40-plus markets, from the U.S. to Paris, Cabo, and London. And here's your window. Picasso is letting individual investors in right now at just $2.80 per share, but that price changes on May 29th. If you're looking to invest in a fast-scaling company led by a founder with a proven track record, this is it. Go to Picasso.com/theflyover to invest now. Again, that's PACASO.com/theflyover. Still ahead on the flyover, drama on the diamond as the Red Sox deal with a defensive standoff, and a surprising retirement in the NFL stuns fans. Plus, a decades-old mystery gets solved. Sports and Sunday Rewind coming up next. Next, let's take a spin through the world of sports. First up, a surprising exit in the NFL. New Orleans Saint quarterback Derek Carr has announced his retirement. He's just 34 years old and still had 2 years left on his contract. But after injuring his throwing shoulder this offseason, Carr says he's stepping away from the game. No doubt a tough decision. Next, a bit of drama out of Boston. Red Sox owner John Henry reportedly flew to Kansas City to meet personally with Rafael Devers. That meeting followed Devers' public pushback on being asked to switch positions after first baseman Tristan Casas was sidelined for the season. Henry and Devers spoke one-on-one, and the team emphasized the importance of being great teammates. Devers has expressed concern about the request, especially after being told in spring training to put his glove away. He still remains a key part of the lineup, but for now, utility players will fill the gap at first base while the team works through the situation. And in the NHL, Maple Leafs goalie Anthony Stolarz is still out after taking a hit to the head in Game 1 of their series against the Florida Panthers. He hasn't skated since the injury, and while the team says he's, quote, progressing, he's not close to returning. Backup Joseph Woll has stepped in and helped Toronto start strong, but Game 3 exposed some cracks, with Florida pulling off a 5-4 comeback win in overtime. Next up is Sunday Rewind, where we take a look back at the most clicked stories of the week. These are the headlines that had you reading, sharing, and talking. Here's another look. First up, a great benchmark for anyone aiming to age well, especially if you're over 70. A new roundup lists 7 simple but telling activities that doctors and wellness experts say are signs your body is aging exceptionally well. First up is dancing. It shows balance, coordination, and brain-body connection. Next, walking briskly, a sign of good endurance and strength. Next, completing a crossword. Mental sharpness counts just as much as mobility. Getting down on the floor and then back up again without help. Not easy, but a big one for mobility and core strength. Handling everyday chores, like carrying groceries without getting winded. Staying socially and mentally engaged. That means doing what brings you joy, even if it means walking with a cane to do it. And maybe most importantly, you can bounce back after being knocked down literally and figuratively. So whether you're 70 or not quite there yet, these are good goals to aim for. And if you've already checked off a few, good for you. Starting wherever you are now and investing in your health is always a good idea. Next up, a decades-old mystery with a surprising ending. Audrey Beckberg disappeared back in 1962, last seen leaving a bus station in Indianapolis at just age 20. Now, 62 years later, authorities in Wisconsin say she's been found alive and well at the age of 82. According to the Sauk County Sheriff's Office, her disappearance was voluntary and involved no foul play. They credit the breakthrough to renewed investigative efforts and a thorough review of the case files. It's a remarkable reminder some cold cases can still warm back up, even after 6 decades. And finally, one of the week's more eyebrow-raising headlines. A former Bush administration official claims the U.S. secretly built a $21 trillion network of underground bunkers designed to shelter elites during a global catastrophe. Catherine Austin Fitts, who served under President George H.W. Bush, told Tucker Carlson that around 170 of these bunkers have been constructed since the late 90s, some allegedly even located beneath the ocean. She said they're powered by a secret energy source and connected by high-speed underground transport. Fitts didn't provide direct evidence, but cited a 2017 report pointing to unauthorized government spending. The claims have not been verified. Still to come on the Flyover, today's pole position, which is all about moms, and trivia. What do shoelaces and zippers have in common? Stick around to find out. Next, let's take a look at a few quick hits. We're going to start with a timely one because Mother's Day isn't just celebrated in the U.S. In fact, nearly every country in the world has a version of this day to honor moms, but the timing and traditions vary. In Mexico, families kick things off by serenading their moms, sometimes with mariachis. In Thailand, kids gift jasmine garlands, and celebrations honor the queen. In France, it's floral cakes and poetry from kids. In Peru, many families visit cemeteries to honor mothers who've passed. The UK calls it Mothering Sunday and ties it to Lent. Japan is all about red carnations, which symbolizes a mother's love and sacrifice. And in Ethiopia, it's 3 days of singing, dancing, and a feast for mom. Different dates, different customs, but the heart behind it all is the same: gratitude for the ones who raised us. Up next, do you have a favorite color? Well, according to therapists and color experts, it might say more about your personality than you think. Here's what they have to say. Those who love blue are said to be calm, trustworthy, and great problem solvers, but sometimes overthink things. Green types are driven, intelligent, and balanced, but can veer into perfectionism. Purple fans are creative and spiritual, but often feel misunderstood. If pink is your go-to, you're probably compassionate and romantic. Red equals passion and ambition, but can come with a dash of aggression. Orange fans are adventurous and spontaneous, but not always consistent. And yellow lovers? Energetic, imaginative, and maybe a little anxious. Now, how much of that is really true? I don't know. I feel like as three-dimensional people, we all show a little of these traits at one time or another. But hey, it's a great conversation starter. Which color are you? Let me know in the comments. This next story proves that punctuality used to be a full-time job. For over 100 years, the Belleville family made a living delivering the exact time by hand. It started in 1836 when John Belleville, an astronomer at the Royal Observatory, began carrying a precision pocket watch through London to give paying subscribers their weekly dose of Greenwich Mean Time. After he passed, his wife Maria took over the route, and eventually their daughter Ruth kept the tradition going until 1940. She became known as the Greenwich Time Lady, and despite the rise of radio, telegraphs, even the talking clock, Ruth walked the streets of London each week for nearly 5 decades, carrying the same pocket watch nicknamed Arnold to hand-deliver the correct time to her customers. When she passed away at 89, that watch was still by her bedside. In an era of digital everything, it's a charming reminder that people once relied on a friendly face and a ticking clock. All right, next it's time for Pole Position, where we turn the mic over to you. Yesterday, we asked our email subscribers, how far in advance do you plan for Mother's Day? Here's how you answered. 35% of you said a few days before. 31% said, wing it. 20% of you said weeks ahead. And 14%, you took the impromptu approach and answered last minute. I think as long as some thought and care goes into it, that's really the most important part. All right, here's today's question, and it keeps us in the family spirit. How often should you call your mom? Your options: daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, as often as possible. Well, I sure hope today you think about making a call to anyone who's cared for you to say thank you. All right, vote now in today's email edition, and don't forget to check back tomorrow to see where the rest of the Flyover family lands. All right, before we land today's episode, let's wrap it up with a little brain boost. It's trivia time. Here's the question we asked at the top of the show: what was the zipper originally created for? The answer: the clasp blocker, as it was originally called, was designed in 1893 to replace the long shoelaces used in boots. Inventor Whitcomb Judson debuted at the Chicago World's Fair that same year as a zip-up boot fastener. It didn't catch on at first, but the design was refined over the next few decades. By World War I, the U.S. Army had adopted it for gear and uniforms, and the modern zipper was born. From shoelaces to a global wardrobe staple, not a bad glow up. All right, that'll do it for this Sunday edition of The Flyover. Thanks so much for spending part of your morning with me. I'll be back next weekend, and don't forget, Ayla Brown has you covered Monday through Friday with all the headlines you need to know. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Share it with a friend or two who'd appreciate a smarter take on the news without all the noise. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and as always, thanks for flying with us.